one has to feel safe in order to even move out of that fight or flight or freeze
Right.
place.
Right. Now, interesting enough with Yahid, his friends are more in sync, I should say, with him. And so his generation is more pro Black Lives Matter. And because of this, he doesn't experience the same thing that Black Eye and I experience, you know, because he's an older teenager, like he's 17. So his friends and him and his friends there, I'm sure you saw that letter he wrote to his friends. I put it on Facebook, Chef. I think you said you saw it.
Yeah, that was very powerful. And I made a commitment when I saw that. I don't know if you saw my comment, but I said, you know, I hear you, Yahid, and I will not stop. I will continue to be relentless in my efforts in everything that I know how to do at every level, starting with myself,
Right.
to help move the needle so that he can feel safe, because he's my nephew. He's my nephew, and I love him so much. And I do not want to see him lose faith in humanity.
Right. So most of his friends are very progressive, if you would imagine from that letter that he wrote. So he's actually, like I say, Carlisle is a town that he's never experienced any kind of police harassment. You know, as a matter of fact, there's 2 times that he did get stopped. You know, I was telling him this is what you have to do. And the policeman, it was 2 different policemen both times, and both of them told him, you know, it's okay, you're good, it's okay. So they were very respectful to him. And it just let him know that he was in a safe place. They were like, it's okay, because he knows to put his hands up on the wheel, to ask before he reaches for his wallet. And so, yeah, there's not been any police harassment. Again, it's just that if you stay in your place, nothing will happen to you. So I think that more has an effect on Raka, because, you know, she has friends, of course, that are younger. And so, you know, some of her friends, you know, I tell her, you can't discuss this with them. Like, you know, you can't bring that up, because, of course, they will discuss, you know, with their parents. And my whole thing is because 3 to 4 days out the week, I'm not home, and the children are there by themselves. And so with them being there by themselves, I'm not comfortable with them expressing anything to anybody if I'm not there. And there's quite a big span of time when I'm not there. So,
and I just hate that the kids are feeling the need to not be free to express who they are, or to be the fullest of who they are, as well as you. And I am just so sorry.
Yeah.
What do you feel like, if you know, if you were to just speak candidly to your white friends about what you would wish we knew or could do?
Well, just showing support and having communication like the kind that we're having now, just to be able to share it. I mean, I guess the main thing is showing support through voting and showing support through standing up, you know. I feel like everybody has different roles in regards to a revolution. Everybody's role is not the same.
That's right.
Use whatever platform you have to make a difference. And I posted on Facebook, you know, if you're white, reach out to your Black friends and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Because sometimes it's just a matter of us just like sharing and talking and knowing that you'll be there to support, for whatever reason. And that, and I put a post on my Facebook, and I called out some of my white friends, and I'm like, look, you all see the kind of post I put on there, but I'm calling out the people who say you're my friend, and you have not, and I have a young African American son, and you've not one time reached out for me just to see how I'm doing physically and emotionally. Because you're choosing, like, it's not something that's directly affecting you, so you rather stay out of it. So your silence is you not supporting it. That's how I feel.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And yeah, I hope that I hope I would I think that I've spent the whole, I mean, personally, I've spent the whole well, never mind. I really am, I'm just really grateful for your friendship and for your
Yeah,
patience with me as I'm learning how to be more aware of white privilege.
right. And that's courage. That is courage to put that out there, because a person who is not oppressed doesn't know what should be done about oppression. So the best thing you could do right now is to listen and ask questions.
Hmm.
Like, really, the best thing you could do is listen and ask questions. And like you say, ask, how can I support you? But, I don't like it when people who have not been oppressed, and I just don't want to say black people, because people of color, Native Americans, they have been oppressed. So I'm not just speaking of black people. But if you have not been oppressed, then recognize, and we're not saying you're a bad person, but recognize that there is white privilege, and recognize that. And use your white privilege. It doesn't matter on a personal level how you feel about me personally. Down to the end of the day, you have a privilege that I don't have. And that doesn't make you a bad person, but that puts you in a unique position to help. And this is the last thing, because I don't want to take up everybody's time, but there was a video clip, and it showed the lines of white females in a police officer. And to me, that is such a powerful image, because they're neutral. They're neutral ground. When police officers, mainly speaking of white police officers, but anyway, in this society, white women are held at a different kind of position.
Are you
And
talking
so,
about the video about the bird watching man in Central Park?
no, no, no. I'm talking about the video where there was a line of white women standing on a protesters. The protesters were behind them, and they
Oh,
were facing the police officer.
being like a cushion.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, the reason why that was so powerful to me, because again, it comes in hand with white privilege. White women in this society is looked upon as a certain type of way. And so what to me that it said for me was that, hey, you're not going to harm my African American brothers and sisters. You're not going to do that, because you're going to have to get through me in order to do that.
Right.
And that would be, and I think most of, not if not all, white society, if those policemen had killed all of those white women, whether you would Black Lives Matter or not, if you are white, you would have been full force. Like, no. You see what I'm saying? Because it presents a different picture as opposed to policemen in a black woman, or, a black man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
That's kind of my thought.
yeah, no, I really think that's powerful. And I mean, and Angela, you're in just such a unique situation because also identifying Jewish has,
Mhm.
and sort of a lot of your circles are white, that
Mhm.
you know you're in this situation where you are having to really present yourself with so much courage to face judgment. And I just want to acknowledge that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I appreciate it. Just because it's good people like you, and I tell the children all the time, it's not about white and black and good and bad. It's about all of us coming together for unity and for a purpose to help one another out. It's a human issue. It's about don't treat anybody. I don't want anybody black treating anybody white bad. I mean, it's just a human issue, a basic issue of just don't hurt other people. So it doesn't depend on, if you're white or black, don't hurt other people. That's what it comes down. But I understand, again with saying that, I understand the violence that's happening, and that's why I caution my white friends not to talk against the violence because that's really not your place. Because it was your ancestors who caused this violence to be. So whether or not you didn't take a personal step in creating this violence, but this violence was birthed from your ancestors. So because this violence was birthed from your ancestors, you don't have a right to say how somebody should express it.
Right. And I learned a humbling thing today, in that um, I have a friend who's Native American, and I asked her to review a post that a white friend of mine wrote about compassion, and how we have to see that on all sides. Um, there's a call for um, being a call for compassion, because hurt people, and um,
Right.
went on with that kind of thing. And that this is, everybody is our brother and sister, and we're all,
Right.
and you know where I'm going with this. So I asked her what was her feeling as I read that post, and she's like, I'm livid. And I asked her, can you tell me more about it? And she said, well, I don't want any white person telling me how I should feel.
Right. Right. Yes.
And that, you know, um, and she suggested to me, if you like, I would be offended. I know like this has been your thing, since, like your whole life. So I know where you're coming from. But
Right.
if you didn't like talk about things from a place, like if you say we, as in including people of color in your
Uh-huh.
statement, I'll be offended. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
because you can only speak from your own experience and your own
Right.
perspective.
Right, exactly, exactly. And the best thing that you can do when a person is angry, you don't you don't hit them back with anger and then expect for them to stop. Like that doesn't even happen in terms of parent-children relationships. It was Rock I was small when I thanked her, she was hurt, she was upset, and so she cried. So I can say, if you keep crying, I'm gonna keep spanking you. You gotta stop crying. What? You keep hurting me, lady. Oh, how am I gonna stop crying if you keep spanking me? Like it doesn't make sense. And it's the same thing with the violence that's happening in our society now. If we want people to stop being violent, then acknowledge them, acknowledge what's happening, acknowledge what's wrong, and say I'm here to help you so you don't have to continue this pain. But I can't say to them, I know, you shouldn't be being violent like that. I personally am not a violent person. That's not how I work out my feelings. But I have worked on myself. So you know what I'm saying? I worked on my own anger issues. I worked on who I am. But with saying that, if I saw policemen kill Yahid, I cannot promise you I will not be violent.
Oh,
I
when it
cannot
comes to
promise
your
you.
children, of course.
Yeah, but see, and that's the thing is like you cannot judge people for being violent because most of the people, I'm not gonna put most or all on it, but people who have experienced this in their own life and have experienced death by the hands of policemen,
Yeah.
that's all of that hurt. So you can't say to them, don't be violent and don't burn up buildings. You can't say that to them.
And
Because
yeah,
they
unless you've been there.
personally experience that hurt. Like I said, I'm not a violent person. I don't throw stuff through windows. I don't fight. I don't do any of that. But if I see a policeman or a citizen, like when the young man was jogging, and I see that he killed my son, I'm not going to promise you that I will not be violent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's just
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah. When it comes to, and I think that, that, that type of ability to step into that greater, like, global love
Yeah,
can only happen when we're right now is not the time for that, you
right,
know. And
right.
I think that it's important to create, here's an example for myself. I was trying to think of it through this point of view, like, if, like, even like a year or even now, if someone said, well, stop making such a big deal about all your family that died in the Holocaust, like, or
Mm,
I know you had people die in the Holocaust and that was really hard, but think about all the descendants of the SS and the Nazis. Think about how much they've been suffering, to have, like, we're not having compassion for everybody involved. And at that point, I don't, to ask someone who's directly
right,
suffering that pain at the
right.
hand of that particular group, like, it's really hard. Like, I think I could do it better when I was younger, but at this point in my life, it's really hard for me to really step into the heart of people who were Nazis or
Mhm.
their descendants, to
Right,
really have compassion in the way
right.
that, like, Jesus might have asked for that.
Right, right. That's it. You like summed up everything I was trying to say, Trevor. You could have just talked for me. And that's it. That's it right there. Like, yeah, don't ask you to erase it, the history and the pain, because you still live in that pain through your own history.
And 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 I think that the concept of, there's just so much that gets spoken out of ignorance. I've had people say to me, "Oh, Grace, did you want to offer anything? Because Angela, I don't know if you've ever met Grace, but her children are half Black, and so she is raising children of color who are, and her partner, and, well, yeah, she's always been identified as a person of color. So, um,
Yeah, it's just always been something that is fundamentally important to me. And the Black Lives Matter movement is just, I can't say just anything. It is a priority and an example for how in every case, we have to value people. So I and everyone here with Sheva want to make that center of our lives and radiate that through the entire country and world. So thank you. I have to run.
Oh, thank you. And I know, Angela, that it's about 5 o'clock, and I just I wasn't sure if we were going to get into much dialogue or not, but I know that every second I have to interact with you is so precious, and so I wanted to get a chance. I wished I had been able to do it on a more one-on-one situation, but
I think this is great what you're doing, Trevor. I really like this. I do. I like this platform that you're presenting, and just being able to talk stuff out. Not judging people or not criticizing people, or great. What you're doing is it's powerful, because when you raise children that come from a mixed culture, that is that, because in essence you can't teach them to hate one culture, because that's a part of who they are. So I really congratulate and honor your courage to raise children from two different cultures, because to teach them to hate one culture is to teach them to hate a part of who they are, and you can't do that. And so I just want to say that to you, Grace, that I honor what you're doing as a mother, and really respect that.
oh, and Grace already signed off, but I'll share the sentiment. Oh, that's okay. I'll share the sentiment with her, and
Marty.
yeah, she definitely is so like she's working on a curriculum about creating respect and what does respect mean, because it's something she hears often, like her partner feeling disrespected in different social situations, and so being able to talk that, you know, that she's trying to create a curriculum around what that would look like when people are respected, because it's so personal how we define it. But when that word gets used a lot in neighborhoods, minority neighborhoods, what exactly does that mean, and what is the need? And so it's a real deep dive into that. And Karen, I don't know if she still can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Was there anything you wanted to add before we end the call? And
Well, Angela and I did not get to meet, but I would love at a future date for us to connect. I don't know if she's in St. Louis or outside.
yeah.
But
I'm back and forth, Karen. So it just depends on, like they say, any given Sunday. So,
we have a community called Gateway to Dreams.
I invited her to a Connecting and Promoting Women event.
Okay, so she's been there?
Yes, on Zoom.
Okay, great. Awesome.
I loved it.
And I would love for her to be able to continue the involvement. And I'll link her up with Marty and Pookie and
me.
You're
gonna love Angela.
I'm sure I do. If you do, I already do. So.
Right. Anybody who loves Sheva, they're like on my list.
Yes, I agree with you, Angela. All right.
Well,
I'm waiting for Spectrum, Sheva, so I'm going to jump off.
Okay.
It's been crazy, but I'll talk to you later, okay?
Thank you so much, ladies. I'll keep working
Bye,
on
Angela.
this and get it out.
Hi, Karen. I got to jump off too, Sheva.
Okay.
We'll talk together, you and I, soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I
No
love you.
problem. I love you too.
Give my love to the kids. Bye.
Bye.